So, I just recently finished BoJack season 4, and it was quite amazing as usual from what you expect from BoJack. And so, one reason why I wanted to do this review was to kind of specifically just keep talking about BoJack because unfortunately, it's just not. It doesn't seem to be a very popular show, especially with a lot of the people I hang around with, and it can be a little frustrating. So the only way that I feel like I can ever talk about this show is if I internally talk about it with myself. And what's really sad is that's reflective of what these characters are actually going through in the show. So empathy is something that you should always strive to do and always strive to improve in yourself. And at the core, that's what BoJack Horseman is about. So these individuals in the show have these kind of fucked up lives. BoJack himself being a child of abuse from his mother and his father. His father was physically abusive to him, mentally abusive to him, emotionally abusive to him, and his mother was more the emotional verbal abuse. And so what happened with BoJack was as he became a star and everything like that, no matter how much his mother came to live off of that she finally got to see her son in the light that she always saw herself as a star or as this dramatic character with depth and everything like that. Even though he was in a shitty sitcom, he grew as a person. How do I say this? He grew as a person, but she couldn't accept who he was growing up to be, and she couldn't accept the fact that BoJack became her. And that's the frustration part about abuse, is that when you abuse someone in childhood, it's likely that's who they turn out to be. And that's what BoJack does well, is it demonstrates this fact, and it demonstrates this deeply disturbing fact that our parents are ourselves. And yeah, that's something simple you can think about, but if you're the child of an abusive family, do you ever evolve beyond that? And BoJack in this fourth season looks at that, and in particular when he thinks when he has a daughter around to project his hopes, his aspirations to, and his lessons he's learned, he has to accept this fact that he's probably turned out to be as big of a piece of shit as his mother. And that's what abuse is. It's a cycle. And so, what's frustrating with that is, one reason I can't talk about this show with anybody is because there's no experience that I see a lot of people having with this. And I've gotten to this level in my life of success, but I don't see people around that can ever empathize with that viewpoint, where that viewpoint is just something that they look at down with pity. As if that's any better than what others did. They can't look at life as some fucked up thing. It becomes a cycle again where people can't empathize with other people who had a hard life. And so they just make life harder for those people, trying to escape from that cycle. And so that's what you're left with BoJack. He's trying to help his daughter escape from that cycle. And she's already escaped it just by sheer luck of having 8 wonderful dads. And he brings her down. He starts screwing things up for himself. She still remains pretty good. But the fact that he brought her into his world, he begins to realize how horrible that is for other people. And so distancing herself from him is probably for the best. And he begins to realize that. And what's frustrating about that is how true it is. You can't expect to face these kinds of issues in any sort of healthy way in today's modern society, especially at a level where he has a bunch of yes men surrounding him and he can't ever find the help he needs. He didn't grow up in a situation where he had people telling him no. And if he did have people telling him no, they told him no on the wrong things. They couldn't allow him to express himself as a child. They wouldn't allow him the freedom to fail. They wouldn't allow him the freedom to be someone other than what his mother wanted to live through him as. And BoJack Horseman in season 4 does that very well. So last season we saw that Sarah Lynn died from drug overdose. Basically from her life, to be honest. I don't remember if it's specifically a drug overdose, but she had been going down for a while. And BoJack has to reflect on that fact that he's destroyed another person's life. That he was the cause of all that failure. So this is BoJack's second chance of Hollyhock. And he actually tries to do well. Everybody's always trying to do the best they can. But it's always going to be harder for those individuals that had hard lives. And this show takes an empathetic viewpoint of that. Thinking that no matter how bad a person BoJack is, maybe he had shit luck. There's a Lou Reed song about it called Street Hassle, where he looks at the lifestyle of people that grew up in, in particular there's a transsexual, and she had a client, a man, I think it was a married man, to be honest, based on the narrative that I got from the song. I can't remember if he specifically says that he was married, but that's not that important, really. What happens is that this man and this transsexual prostitute have a sexual encounter, and at the end of the day, none of them regrets it, and it's just about their lives, both of them, and this encounter, and that it's just some normal thing that you like looking at either one of these people as evil just doesn't make sense. In the second half of Street Hassle, Lou Reed looks at a woman who overdoses on heroin and her boyfriend, and the boyfriend and what they're going to do with his body. And the boyfriend still can't decide what to do. Like, he doesn't know how to react to finding out that his girlfriend's died. And Lou Reed, as the dealer or the one who brought the drugs, he just suggests that leave her in the road as another hit and run, because no one will give a shit about them. And that's the truth. No one would care about them. BoJack does an excellent job of taking an empathetic viewpoint on miserable people's lives who probably have no hope of getting out of misery. And I wish more shows did that, instead of always being so fucking happy. Why can't other people's lives be important? Why can't you look at other people's lives as worthwhile? It's only from a sympathetic viewpoint that you see other people's lives worthwhile, that you should care about them as individuals, but you don't actually give a shit about them. You just pay lip service and ear service to their stories, instead of actually giving a shit about them as human beings. Having faith in other people is important. And again, that's what BoJack does with Hollyhock, eventually. Coming to realize that she actually can withstand situations because of the nurturing she had from her 8 fathers, unlike the one that he got from his 2 parents. So, now I'll be discussing some spoilers. So, Hollyhock eventually finds out that she's not BoJack's daughter. Well, they find that out eventually, like towards the end of the season. And what's even better about that is she is the same as BoJack. So they brought this situation where BoJack tried to make sure that she didn't turn out like him. And it turns out that because of the different nurture she had, she doesn't. So is BoJack a horrible person? No. The show does a great job of showing that Nurture plays just as much of a role as nature. And just because BoJack's family was terrible didn't mean that he necessarily had to turn out terrible. And he's given a second chance to be a good person. And Hollyhock does that when he finds out that they're related, but his brother and sister. And so Hollyhock's a better version of BoJack that he never had the opportunity to be. And now he has the opportunity to help grow up. Giving people a second chance is important. And you should always do that. I just wish I didn't have to constantly keep telling people that they should view life more empathetically. Because going to college, right out of high school, having this... Every time I go to college now, all I hear is about how you took this fucking physics course in high school, and that wasn't my life. Hey, how you did this when you were 20. I was like, well, when I was 20, I was seeing my abusive mom in A Book's a Million for the first time in a couple of years. I don't have that life. I'm just constantly having it bombarded in my experience to now of how much this world that I'm a part of will never understand other people, will never ever try to understand other people, and when you try to help them understand other people, they don't. There's no desire for them to ever look at it beyond what they know. They only want to know about inspiration in terms of, did your family have a good effect on you? And my family did, but in a non-normal way. The fact that my mom hit my sister just showcases that how much I care about people. The abuse people suffer is something that made me grow up to realize how much I care about other people and how much I accept that the earth is part of my family, and that's why I care about the environment so much. But if I discuss that with people, it's something that they don't want to hear. They only look at it as something to pity. And people can go fuck themselves. Because BoJack is an amazing show. And I wish people would look at life more empathetically. And try to understand individuals that are from a different lifestyle. Instead of just only propping up individuals that have had everything handed to them. Having a good family handed to you. Or having a normal family handed to you, really. Because I now have a good family. Having a high school career that propped you up to succeed quicker. Having people around that can tell you what to do. Never having to look at art as something more than just what's there. It's just fucking annoying. Anyways, BoJack Season 4 is amazing. I didn't know how to reflect on it without bringing in my own bullshit ass own personal problems. But it's an interesting viewpoint on individuals' lives that we just don't wish to see. And it's apparent from the lower viewer numbers of it over other series that people still don't wish to see it. People still don't wish to know about other people's lives. At least, not at that. They only want to know about tropes. If someone's abused, that's all they can be, is a characterization. You can't get to know you don't want to see BoJack's abuse. So in other shows, you'll just see the fact that they are abused. or you'll just know that as a just a random factoid. It's not that important. Whereas in BoJack, they actually show it to you. They actually reflect on it, and then they even take an empathetic viewpoint on the abusive mother, which is far deeper than a lot of shows. So yeah, give BoJack the series a shot. Give people a shot that aren't the same as you, will never have those opportunities that you had, and just try to be a better person. Because no matter what situation you're given in, if I can find a way to try to be a better person every day, you can too. And if BoJack can, the fuck does anybody have a reason not to try to be a better person? Take care.